Low light is probably Sam trying to jump into a fire.
Yeah. That was not a great time. I agree. My name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our supernatural opinions. Today we're recapping Season 1, Episode 21, Salvation, which originally aired on April 27, 2006, and here to help me do that are my guests of the week, Jordan and Lukas. Jordan, do you want to remind everybody who you are?
Sure. Hi, my name is Jordan. I am at PsychicChick21 on TikTok, and I am just a huge fan of all things random and fandom.
I love that so much. Did you want to give your pronouns? You don't have to, but...
Oh yeah, my pronouns are she, her.
And Lukas.
And my name is Lukas, and I am the Doctor 9696 on TikTok, and the Doctor 26 on Instagram, and I am a actor / writer, and my pronouns are he, and I am just pretty much a big nerd of anything that's like Doctor Who, Supernatural, or DC Marvel related. Pretty much everything in a nutshell.
That is excellent, and exactly why you're both here. And it's really good. I mean, I've gotten to talk to so many Supernatural fans in the last, 6 months doing this. I've made so many new friends, but, honestly, sometimes when I'm doing this, week after week, I get Supernatural fatigued, where I'm just why am I talking about this stupid show? But it's really great to, have guests, and, have guests. I haven't had you guys in a while, so it's so good to have you guys both back.
Thank you.
We love it.
I feel like it was, literally, Home or Faith, maybe, that you guys were here.
I know I did Faith. I think Home was the last time we were both here, yeah.
The cursed episode.
The episode that took 3 tries. The John Winchester Hate Fan Club.
Oh, we should hashtag that.
I don't know if you guys listen to Driver Picks the podcast, but we've already decided that we're going to team up someday with Caring Waver, and we're going to make John Winchester Hate Club merch.
Oh, yes.
Meredith and I have a lot of merch ideas. We're not really ready to do merch, but, we have ideas. I want to get us Team Case and Team No Case shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Because Sam and Dean are always one or the other. Mm-hmm. I'm actually about to shake up the John Winchester Hate Club this week. I have a teeny amount of John Winchester sympathy this week. We're going to get there. But come prepared for that, I guess.
All right.
But before we actually get into the content of this episode, this week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode and may reference previous episodes, but will not contain spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural, although right at the end of the season. So we might talk a little bit about where things are going into the finale. This week's episode is titled Salvation, and that's a reference to the town of Salvation, Iowa, which is a fictional town, doesn't actually exist, but probably should. Someone should create a new town. Salvation's also a very biblical concept, kind of saving humankind from evil, and that feels pretty relevant as we're going into this episode that's setting us up for the finale. This week's episode was written by Sarah Gamble and Raelle Tucker and directed by Robert Singer. It was a crew. Sarah and Raelle have written together on Dead in the Water, Faith, and Nightmare previously. Sarah goes on to take over as showrunner after Kripke in seasons 6 to 8. Raelle is an executive story editor in all of season 2. These are some of our most recognizable production writer people. Most people know these people by name. Robert Singer was an executive producer through these shows' entire run except for the pilot. So all of season 1 except for the pilot all the way to season 15, episode 20. Robert Singer was an executive producer on this show, which means he outlasted even Kripke himself. The man was here for better or for worse. He also, my understanding of what he actually does day to day on production is he works a lot with organizing the directors because, there's having new directors coming in and out every week, especially as the show goes on. He directed Phantom Traveler earlier in this season. He directed the series finale. They really wanted us to get the big story stuff in this episode, so they brought the whole team. But yeah, that is what we're dealing with. This is the second last episode of the season. season, but in some ways it feels a lot like the finale, partially because our recap is set to carry on Wayward Son by Kansas, which is usually reserved for season finales. This is the only season where it's not in the finale, except for, I think, season 15. So that's a choice that they made. The most unfortunate part of this episode is that we are with John right from the start. He's just here in the opening scene now that the Winchesters have finally been reunited. But before we actually get to the Winchesters, we're in Blue Earth, Minnesota, which is where Pastor Jim Murphy is from. John's friend, Pastor Jim, is one of the people that John would dump the kids on. Also a person that we've heard about a couple of times. I'm still keeping a running tab on John's friend. His very limited number of friends. I've heard about Pastor Jim in episode 10 and episode 18. And also Blue Earth, Minnesota is a place that we're going to come back to in season 5. This church might actually be the same church that we see Pastor Jim in, is the church with that preacher's daughter who gets killed and she ends up being the whore of Babylon.
Oh, yeah.
And like the whole town of Blue Earth, Minnesota goes like a little bit like wacko.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. We will get there. That is season 5. Whoever, like that guy, I assume that's who takes over for Pastor Jim after he is unfortunately murdered in this scene. Because unfortunately being one of the only people to put up with John Winchester for 20 years does not work out for Pastor Jim. Meg walks into his church and kills him, even though he says it's been over a year since he actually spoke to John. Meg is immune to hallowed ground, which Pastor Jim says like she shouldn't be, which is like pretty big time as far as demons go, or average, depending what season of the show we're talking about. Whether or not demons can enter churches is not consistent, but based on our knowledge in season 1, we haven't really seen a demon able to do that before, so good for Meg. John is finally telling his son the deal with the yellow-eyed demon, and he says about a year ago when John first took off and went missing, he picked up the trail of a demon which has been, as far as they know, inactive since 1983 when Mary was killed. Basically, whatever the demon was doing with Sam and Max and the eventual other children that we're going to find out about started up again with the nursery fires. You guys are American. You live in the States. John and the writers do not know the geography of this country that you live in.
Nope.
John says he's following a trail. It starts in Arizona, then New Jersey, then California.
Those are completely different directions.
Yeah, I don't know geography, especially not U.S. geography, because I live in Canada.
He has got to have a portal of sorts in order to get from that location to the next within days, because that is just completely out of opposite directions.
Yeah, geography's not my forte, but I know a couple of things, and also I can read a map.
Unless he's flying there, which is I guess possible, but where's he getting money?
I know that New Jersey touches New York on the East Coast, and I know that California is on the West Coast. California is the West Coast. And a very quick Google search told me that Arizona touches California. So this means that John did a West Coast, East Coast, more West Coast.
Unless he started in New Jersey, right?
But then why would he list them in that order? Also, he says first Arizona. Then
then that's completely different direction.
I spent 5 minutes on that. A solid 5 minutes on Google being why? And how? But you know what?
Didn't think it through.
Yeah, I mean, John has an extraordinary talent for patterns beyond even what could make sense to just travel. I mean, if he's not flying, the cost of gas is still astronomical.
Well, it was 2006, so yeah,
fair.
It's still
it's not important, but Sam is wearing a black shirt under a really, really dark red shirt in this scene, and the red shirt has a single white button on it, and I had to pause because I thought he was wearing some sort of necklace, because the white button was so bright and out of place. I was like, is Sam also wearing jewelry? That's usually not Sam's thing. But it was literally just this button stood out so much on his shirt. It was one button on. There wasn't 2 buttons, it was just one. But Sam and Dean start yelling at each other for no real reason about whether or not Sam is responsible for any of their personal tragedies. I don't know why they're fighting.
I don't know why they're fighting either, but Sam just wants to take the blame for everything. It's just
Sammy.
That's how he is.
My poor Sammy.
He's just I'm the reason Mom's dead. I'm the reason Jess is dead. It's all my fault. Fuck me.
For some reason, they feel the need to raise their voices at each other. John says he's never gotten there in time to save, and that he doesn't say Mary, but we all know he means Mary. All of the Mary equivalents in these other families.
Right. Well, if he would pick up the phone, he could have.
Yeah, maybe. John has picked out some omens. Later, we're just going to call these general demonic omens before the deaths, and they can, like, signal any old demon, but at this point in the show, they pretty much just signal this specific demon. And he's seen them in Salvation, Iowa, so that's where they're heading next. We need to talk about the sign of, like, leaving Salvation, like the town sign. It says, leaving Salvation, the heartland of America. Are you ready for Judgment Day? And then JW227. As is well documented on this podcast, I'm an atheist. And I was raised in a not religious household. So I went and I was like, I want to look up that Bible verse and see what the context is. Because I know exactly one Bible verse. It's John 3:16, and that's it.
That's fair. That's the one that's on all the decals on people's cars.
Except that this isn't a Bible verse at all. This is just something random. It's not a Bible verse. However, JW, as you might recall from Daniel Elkins's letter in Dead Man's Blood, are the initials of John Winchester. So this could be a personal message to John specifically. I'm not sure. And I don't know what the 227 signifies. I tried to keep my eyes peeled and I didn't find anything. I don't know what it means. I have no idea what this means. It's not a Bible verse. I don't know.
I think they just made it look like it was a Bible verse because people would believe it. Also, Lotto is spelled wrong.
Oh, I didn't notice. But that's fun.
It's L-O-T-O on the sign. It's L-O-T-T-O.
Huh, interesting. I didn't notice that, which is weird, because usually that's something I would notice. John then suddenly pulls over. He's visibly upset, and he informs the boys he just got a call from his friend Caleb, who's also been mentioned twice. Once in episode 10 as well, and also in, I guess, just this episode, as one of John's friends. And Caleb has called to inform John that Pastor Jim was killed by a demon. Sam is upset by this news. Like I would say Sam is the most visibly upset of the three of them. Clearly, yeah. Pastor Jim was someone that Sam cared about, which I can totally see. Like Sam as a kid, just gravitating towards any adult who would pay him like 5 minutes of attention.
That's fair.
But also I imagine like Pastor Jim probably like had like interesting like books and stuff. I mean, he seems like an interesting guy. Like he's a pastor, so I feel like he's not like actively hunting, but like he obviously knows all these hunters. So I want to know more about Pastor Jim is what I'm saying.
That's fair.
John wants them all to split up and go to 3 separate locations to get records of any kids in the county who are turning 6 months old in the next week, which Sam points out could be a lot of children. Sam is pushing back like a little bit against John. It's not even like pushback. He's just asking very basic logistical questions. And when John answers them like a normal person, Sam shuts up and does what he's told. When like John is like, just do what I'm telling you. All you need to do to get Sam to do what you want him to do is just explain why you want him to do it, and he'll do it. Like John is just so impatient and shitty. Dean is really quiet through most of this exchange, except at the very end when he takes a second to cater to John's emotional well-being and be like upset about Pastor Jim dying. Pastor Jim's death is like the final straw where John says he doesn't care what it takes. He is ending this fight right here and right now. The boys do not know to what extent John saying I don't care what it takes includes them, but I think that they should be worried.
Always.
Very much worried.
Oh, I have a fun fact. When they go to the hospital to look for records, or when Sam goes to the hospital to look for records.
I like a fun fact.
The receptionist is Serinda Swan, who actually plays in 2 different episodes of Supernatural. She also plays, I think it's like Veritas.
Yeah, I saw that in the thing. I love that for her.
She's also in a series called Graceland, which is really dope, with Erin Tveit, where she plays like an undercover FBI agent or something. It's pretty cool. It was on USA for 3 seasons. Fun fact.
I also have a note about Serinda Swan, because in addition to playing the goddess of Truth Veritas in season 6, in the Percy Jackson movie, she plays Aphrodite, the goddess of love.
Nice.
Gina is not wrong for thinking that this is a beautiful lady.
Not at all.
Not at all. Like, as they're about to hit the road again, like, we actually see inside of John's truck for a second. I guess it's like when John's going to look wherever he's going, before we see what the boys are both doing. We see inside John's truck, like, pretty much for the only time. Just while he's, like, getting through his like IDs that he has in the glove box or whatever. But I just noted that we were in there. Also, fun note about Serinda Swan, she could not look more like combination of Cass and Lisa, 2 of Dean's future love interests. If the 2 of them had a child, it would look like Serinda Swan. Sam has a vision while he's like leaving his research area, and it's been a hot minute since Sam actually had a vision.
Yeah, I don't remember the last one.
I think it was in Nightmare, like the last time it was actually plot relevant. Like Sam's like powers thing has been on the very down low for a few episodes now.
Yeah, it's very kind of off and on. They didn't have anything in Something Wicked This Way Comes or Hell House.
Or Providence, or Dead Man's Blood. Yeah.
Or the Benders. Like, if you were going to have a vision, you should really have one there.
Been a minute, and we're going to talk a lot about it here, because I have a lot of notes. But Sam sees a mom, like, putting her baby to bed, and here's a train, which prompts Sam to check the map, see where the train track